Hey, yarn bestie, Jaya here. Welcome back to Skein and Tell. Today we're diving into a topic that's as deep and intricate as the most perfect lacy pattern you've ever seen. Today we're talking about the secret language of stitches. Yes, the hidden meanings and symbolisms behind every knot, every twist, and loop that you create with your knitting needles and your crochet hooks. So you might think that a simple stitch is just, means to an end. But what if I told you that there's a whole world of messages embedded in your yarn work? Whether you're crocheting a delicate shawl or knitting a chunky scarf, every single stitch has a story to tell. And just like in any language, different patterns can convey different meanings. So grab your favorite yarn and let's get into how crafting speaks a secret language. Before we dive into the specifics of stitches themselves, let's take a step back and look at the historical context of stitch language. So people have used weaving and knitting and crochet as a form of communication for centuries, often embedding their messages into the fabric of their creations. So in many ancient cultures, textiles were much more than just practical items. They were also deeply symbolic. For instance, in Victorian England, the art of language of flowers extended into textiles, with certain colors and certain patterns representing specific messages. The same concept exists in cross-stitch, where different motifs could be used to communicate personal beliefs, family histories, and even political statements. A different example could be in the Native American culture. Different stitch patterns were used to represent stories or ancestral symbols, each holding deep cultural significance. So, for instance, the use of beadwork and woven textile was a way of passing down history, marking significant life events like births, marriages, and death, or communicating status. Now, knitting is an art form that's rich in symbolism, with each stitch offering its own unique message, and even the simplest stitch can carry meaning. So let's look at some of the most common ones and the messages that they convey, and then we can actually go on to checking out the secret language of crochet as well. Today on Weird Yarn Monday, we're diving into a fiber that fuels both your projects and your caffeine addiction. That's right, it's coffee yarn. Yeah. Somebody looked at a pile of used coffee grounds and thought, you know what? You know what this needs? This needs to be a sweater. And honestly, they were right. Coffee-infused yarns are typically blended with other fibers like polyester or cotton, and they retain some of the coffee's natural benefits like the odor control and quick drying properties. I have not found a coffee skein in none of the yarn shops that I visited recently, but I think that my first instinct would probably be to smell it. And also, if I would probably knit or crochet with it, like imagine making mittens, I would be like sniffing my mittens all day long. Every time I would need a boost of energy, I would just like smell my mittens. So if you want to start your morning wrapped in the essence of espresso, coffee yarn might just be your cup of yarn. Next week, knitting with tea leaves. Just joking. Or am I? So starting off with the garter stitch. This is where you knit every row, and it is one of the most fundamental knitting patterns. It only takes you knowing how to do the knit stitch. It creates a fabric that's very soft, it's very squishy in texture, it has a lot of flexibility, and this stitch represents stability, comfort, reliability, and something like a knitted scarf or a knitted blanket made with garter stitch would represent, or would make actually, a really, really great gift, an excellent gift for somebody who needs a little bit of comfort or support in their life. Its repetitive nature also symbolizes consistency, symbolizes patience, reminding us that good things take a little bit of time. So think about when you're knitting a blanket for a loved one who's going through a rough time. Choosing the garter stitch may be a very, very subtle way of saying, I am here for you, and offering your warmth and your offering that emotional connection that they might need. Next up, we have lace knitting, and it's all about the delicate interplay between the open spaces and the yarn that fills them. So lace stitches often represent beauty. They represent delicacy and complexity even, which makes them perfect for symbolic gifts or projects that require a bit more emotional depth. The yarn over stitch, which creates those airy holes in the lace patterns, can be seen as a symbol of vulnerability or openness, while the decreased stitches that pull everything together signify, commitment or bringing together two different paths. So if you're knitting a lace shawl for somebody who's starting a new chapter in their life, like, a wedding, a new job, getting a baby, the intricate lace pattern might actually symbolize the delicate balance that they will need to maintain, or the beauty of the new beginning. We also have the seed stitch. Now, this is a textured pattern where you alternate knit and purl stitches, creating little bumps throughout the fabric. It's often associated with growth, with potential, and a new beginning. So just like seeds that are planted eventually sprout into something bigger, the seed stitch represents hope and nourishment and the potential for something to absolutely bloom. So you might knit a small gift for a friend who's starting a new project at work or who are embarking on a new journey, and using the seed stitch is a very, very lovely way to represent the potential for growth and for success, right? So whether that's a little hat made with seed stitch or a little headband or some mittens, or it's a great way to represent that. And those are just a few examples of the meaning behind some knitting stitches. Why don't we have a look at some crochet stitches as well? Because that's also super interesting. Ooh, but first, we interrupt today's episode to bring you What's Trending. Buckle up, bestie, because we're diving into the hottest, coziest, and sometimes strangest trends sweeping the yarn world right now. Here's What's Trending. All right, so minimalism is out. Hoarding yarn like a dragon guarding treasure is in. We're seeing fiber lovers convert closets, entire rooms, and dare I say, pantries into full-blown yarn vaults. I mean, who needs emergency food when you have 600 skeins of yarn? I know that's a fact because when we bought our 2-bedroom house, one remained a bedroom and the other one, turned into my yarn room. So, yep. But the real reason why yarn stashing is trending at the moment is actually because of several pretty solid reasons. So, if in the past few years have taught us anything, it's that global supply chains are fragile, my love. Yarn shortages, delayed shipments, rising material costs, it all meant that fiber lovers like us are buying now to pretty much avoid regret later. So just like stocking up on non-perishable foods, stashing yarn ensures that you have what you need when the unexpected happens, whether that's a discontinued colorway or an import ban or skyrocketing fiber prices. So knitting and crocheting are scientifically proven to reduce stress, to lower our blood pressure, to even combat anxiety and depression. And many crafters are treating their yarn stash, including myself, like a mental health emergency kit, right? So when the world gets overwhelming, boom, we have a soft, squishy escape room waiting for us. I mean, the repetitive, meditative nature of fiber arts gives us a sense of control and a sense of accomplishment, which is especially valuable in uncertain times. So if you ask any yarn hoarder or me why they have so much, you'll often hear, well, what if I run out? So it's not just about needing yarn. It's about needing the right yarn, the right color, the right weight, the right fiber content. Because let's be honest, when inspiration strikes, the worst thing is realizing you don't have the perfect scheme. I mean, stashing yarn is like curating an artist's palette, It's not an excess, it's creative preparedness. So final thought, stash guilt? No, thanks. If you ever feel guilty about your growing yarn collection, let this be your validation. It's not hoarding. It is future-proofing, whether for your mental health, whether because of sustainability reasons, whether because you want creative security. Yarn stashing is less about excess and more about ensuring a soft, colorful, handmade future. So go ahead, just buy that extra skein. Yeah, that was all for What's Trending. And now back to our main topic. Welcome back, bestie. All right, well, just like knitting, crochet stitches can carry a lot of meaning. With its rich history and wide variety of stitches, crochet offers a different yet equally symbolic language. So let's get to it. Starting off with the granny square. I mean, the granny square is arguably one of the most iconic crochet motifs. And it's often associated with community, with family, with tradition, and each individual square is like a small piece of a larger whole, representing basically the importance of coming together or the importance of creating something beautiful that lasts for a very long time. So the granny square is also a symbol of warmth, it's a symbol of comfort, and it's often used in afghans, blankets passed down through generations. So if you're making a gift for a friend or making a gift for a family member, creating, let's say, a blanket or a pillow with a granny square could symbolize your connection and the comfort that you offer them. It's also, or the comfort that they offer you, right? So it's something that represents something like a shared history or a legacy, if you would like. Now, next up, we have the shell stitch. The shell stitch is made using a series of half-double crochets in a single stitch. And this is a symbol of protection. It's a symbol of strength. And the pattern looks like the open shells of a sea creature. And it is sometimes actually used in amigurumi to create protective figures. Or it's also used in items meant to shield the wearer from negative energy. So if you're crocheting, for instance, a shawl or a garment to protect someone, the shell stitch might actually represent a form of shielding, a form of protecting them from harm and negativity and bringing them that safety. Next up, and last one from crochet, we have the puff stitch. Now, the puff stitch is so cute. The puff stitch represents deep emotion and and deep love. The puff stitch is where you pull up multiple loops of yarn to create a puffed texture. And it is, like I said, a symbolic stitch for love, for abundance, and for deep emotion. The fullness of the stitch represents overflowing feelings, whether it's love or joy or affection. And I think that crocheting a puff stitch heart, for instance, and give it to a friend or your partner as a symbol of your love and appreciation for them is so sweet. It's the full texture of the puff stitch that is the perfect representation of overwhelming affection, for instance. But while we're talking about, let me get a little closer to the mic. While we're talking about the secret language of stitches, let's not forget that in our craft, there is another powerful, let's call it like a tool, a toolbox, if you may, that we can also use to convey little messages. And that is how color plays a huge role in what you're actually trying to do with your yarn, right? So for instance, obviously, if you make something in red, that will represent passion, it will represent energy and love, because red is a color that often symbolizes that. So if you're using red in your project, you're likely to invoke those feelings. So a red scarf, for instance, or a red blanket could be used to bring warmth or to attract the energy, while red flowers, for instance, like roses, are symbolic of romantic love. And I mean, come on, we all know that because we all see what happens for Valentine's Day, for instance. Everything just turns red and pink. Blue, for instance. Blue, on the other hand, is a color that represents calm and healing and trust. So a blue knitted shawl or a crocheted pillow might be used actually to bring peace into a stressful environment, or it might be given to someone who needs comfort and reassurance. While as green can also represent balance. It can represent growth and prosperity. It's commonly used in projects that are meant to nurture personal development or bring abundance to one's life. So crocheting or knitting a green blanket or a green bag could symbolize a fresh start or the healing of an emotional wound, for instance. And now that we've unlocked some of the secret meanings behind stitches and even colors, for that matter, let's think about how we can incorporate this knowledge into our future projects. Because crafting with intention is a super powerful way to imbue your creation with a deeper meaning. And remember also that maybe sometimes some people don't know the meaning of your stitches or the meaning of the color you've chosen. So there's no shame in having to explain. I think that it's really, really nice to make more people aware that there has been more thought put into the project. So if you're creating a gift for somebody who's going through a hard time, perhaps choose a darker yarn for protection and maybe knit it in a garter stitch to symbolize stability and comfort. Or if you're celebrating somebody, you might want to buy a super beautiful bright yarn and then use a puff stitch to symbolize their growth and abundance. So yeah, Yarn Bestie, the secret language of stitches is far more than just an aesthetic. It's a way to communicate without words. And every stitch, every color that you choose, every texture will tell a story that can connect you to the person you're crafting for, to the energy you want to manifest, or even to your own personal journey. So next time you pick up your needles or your hook, think about the message you want to send through your work. Are you creating something that symbolizes love, protection, or growth? Or maybe it's just a way to express the comfort and the joy that only crafting can bring. So thank you so much for listening to me again. and listening to this episode, this journey into secret language of stitches. I hope that you get inspired to stitch with more intention and that you discover the hidden messages in some of maybe projects that have been gifted to you. So keep telling your story through your yarn. And as always, don't forget to share your thoughts with me. And yeah, until next time, love you, bestie. Bye.